I just decided that with the amount of content that's constantly being released for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, it seems like Dungeons and Dragons Wizards of the Coast team is putting out a new article every day, 2 days, and the sage advice on Twitter is just constantly happening. So I thought maybe it would be a good idea to kind of do a weekly wrap-up of all that information for those of you guys that are out of the loop or just don't have time to go look for it yourself. I'll do the legwork, and here it is. So, I guess I'll jump right into it. This will be, I don't have a clever name. If you guys have an idea for a name, let me know. So, for those of you who don't know, GenCon was just last weekend. So, it's technically outside of the scope of this week, but there's a couple cool things that happened. I was just checking out on Twitter here, and there's this really cool article that this kid Owen, or user Owen Leaf on Reddit. Did I say Twitter? Either way. He's 14, he has a copy of the Player's Handbook, one of the first printings, had a similar issue that I had where the binding starts falling apart. So, long story short, he had one of his members of his gaming group was going, he asked him if they could get it fixed, and Wizards of the Coast couldn't fix it, so, now he's upset about it. And, right here, Mike Mearls, Jeremy Crawford took their personal copy, signed it, and gave it to the guy who was a member of their group and to give it back to him. So that's just awesome. I have a signed copy that I got from Extra Life last year, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, for them to just go and give out their personal copy and sign it right there on the spot for somebody that had a busted book, that's awesome. I wish I had gone because I think it's not here. But my copy of the Player's Handbook, I sent it in to get fixed. I got it back, and the new one, the binding's coming apart, so be mindful of that. Just real quick, since we mentioned them, and they are the sages for the Sage Advice, I want to point everybody to sageadvice.eu. Once a month, they do release on the D&D website the Sage Compendium, and the Sage Compendium is just a PDF with any of the big news. But people ask questions day to day, and what I find really interesting is you learn how many people don't know or find any of this stuff, because in reading through this, I like Sage Advice, this Facebook account, and I don't know how many times in a given day even, the same question will come up, which, I mean, I don't know what that says about, clarification of the rules, but the same question will come up, and they'll answer it. And then, 2 hours later, the same question will come up again, somebody else asking. So, I would point you to this sageadvice.eu, because this right here, all it does is it's a direct post from Twitter, and you can tweet at, I would recommend if you have a question, tweet at Mike Mearls and at Jeremy E. Crawford, these two right here. And they're actually really good about responding. I had a question, I tweeted it out, and they got back to me. And as you can see, it labels it like, here's a water genasi question. Like, water genasi can breathe underwater and have acid resistance. If a druid wild shapes, do they keep that? The answer is yes. So I would not have assumed that, but there you go. And you see there's a whole bunch of all different questions and things like that. So it's definitely worth checking out if you're somebody that likes to keep up to date on the rules. If you're a DM and you want to make sure you have your, everything in line before your next game, or if you want to try to clarify, you might even be able to, in the course of a game, make up a rule, tweet them mid-game, and you might even have the answer by the end of the game, depending on how it goes. So, definitely worth checking out that website. There'll be a link in the description. We also mentioned GenCon again. I mentioned GenCon. Rage of Demons, which is the new campaign. So we had Tyranny of Dragons, then we had Elemental Evil, which is kind of the current ongoing one, and this new Rage of Demons, or Out of the Abyss Rage of Demons storyline was actually playable at GenCon. They had, looks like, 5 modules of expeditions were there. So and again, I'll put the link in the description, but the kind of synopsis of the different episodes that were there to be played. They also had Sage Advice, we just mentioned that, Sage Advice office hours, so you could go and ask them in person. And and then there's some stuff about awards that were given out. So, next up is Extra Life. And if you're kind of been around, been at different conventions, or been in the gaming scene for a while, you're probably familiar with Extra Life. It is an organization where basically people set up a donation-based page and they stream games for the most part. One of the biggest ones I ever remember hearing about way back in the day was Pokemon, and it was this group wanted to try to play. They were going to catch, it was like a 24-hour period to catch every Pokemon, and then they continued to do that with each generation. Try to do that in a 24-hour period to raise money for a charity of their choosing. So that's basically what Extra Life is. You go online, you stream something, play a game or whatnot, and there's donations. People can donate to you, and then, there's some sort of reward-based thing for that. Or, bigger people do reward-based stuff, but it could just be to donate to, the good cause and check out a stream while you're at it. Well, D&D did this last year with 5th edition, and I watched it. They did a 24-hour live stream. So they were going to try to play through the entire Tyranny of Dragons game, Hoard of the Dragon Queen, followed by Rise of Tiamat. The same DM. He did not switch out. He started from the beginning and was going to go all the way to the end, 24-hour full stream. And the players cycled, but he continued to stay on. And they did some amazing stuff with this. Like, one of the things they did with, the DM was, a donation of $5 gets the DM a cup of coffee, because he wasn't going to have any coffee or energy drinks unless people donated. So that was, a cool thing that they did. And if you donated more money, you could pick a monster that would show up in the game. So you have to, put a red dragon or a beholder or whatever in the game. It was just really cool. And all the players had stuff, too. If the player got donation of X amount, then they got a magic item, or they got a one use of a wish spell, or an instant reroll, or an extra level, or whatever. Well, lo and behold, the time is coming again for Extra Life for 2015. The stats, this is an article on the D&D website. About $85,000 was raised last year, and they want to go to 100,000 this year, and they're doubling the length of the stream. So from 25 hours last year to 48 hours this year. So they're going to be going non-stop for 2 days. And rather than trying to keep the one dungeon master, they're going to actually have a couple, 12 different DMs and dozens of different players. And it's cool because you sometimes can get, they might have, I'm not sure who they have on the team yet, but they had some of the authors that do D&D novels. They might even get, some more famous people to show up for this. So it's worth checking out, especially if you've got time to kill. It's October 2nd to 4th, so you've got some time to plan that out. And it'll be on their Twitch channel. And you can go, obviously, here's the D&D team, their Extra Life team page. You can actually go and set up your own Extra Life page and be a part of the D&D overall thing. So people donate to you personally, and your money funnels up to the D&D main team. I don't know why that's not loading. Here we go. So they already have $2,600 raised on the goal of 1,000. So actually, you know what? Why don't we look? Because maybe we can figure out who's going to be here. So the rewards will be announced probably, as they get closer. If you join the team and raise at least $50, you will get, and respond to a survey, you'll get a promotional certificate for use in the Adventure League. So if you're part of the D&D Adventure League, these certificates could be things like magic items or whatnot. So it's actually pretty cool stuff if you're a part of an Adventure League, which I would recommend. It's definitely a good time. But what they did last year is they'd be playing through, and then all of a sudden they'd sort of have almost like a fire sale, I guess you could call it, where something would go up for a limited time. And I do have it right here. So last year I donated, and one of the things I donated, I think it was $45, which is about the price of the Monster Manual. But check this out. This is signed by the entire Dungeons and Dragons team. And this was one of those those kind of fire sales. It was there's going to be 10 of these. The next 10 people who donate get a signed copy of the Monster Manual. And they did all sorts of stuff like that. They were giving away minis, they were giving away, board games and the spell cards and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely worth checking out to see and watching live. And let's see the roster of the D&D team right now. I know Aaron Evans, I want to say, who writes the Fire in the Blood series about the Tiefling Warlock Farida. She was on there, and one of the stuff that some of the donations for her specifically were if you donated to her, she would put your character in her book, like in her upcoming novel. So these are mostly just randos that have joined. Obviously, Greg is he was the one who was the dungeon master the entire time last time. But anyway, I would highly recommend checking it out. You can set it up yourself to you don't have to do tabletop games either. You can join Extra Life. The official day is November 7th, and you can play any game that you want. There might even be local chapters to different hospitals or children's organizations near you, so worth checking out for sure. And then again, all these links will be in the description, but you can go check out the D&D website. They also said another way you can show your support is adding the D&D Twibbon, which this is the Twibbon right here. So just choose to add to Facebook or Twitter, and it'll add this little D&D Extra Life kind of, I guess, Twibbon to the corner of your picture. And again, more information, you can tweet about it, post about it and all that stuff. Set this as your cover page. So that is Extra Life. I am planning on participating in it myself. I'm looking to try to get a D&D stream going consistently with a group of friends here online, maybe using Fantasy Grounds, the D&D kind of proprietary online virtual tabletop, or Roll20. Roll20 has the benefit of being free. But I'll be doing that. I'll definitely be doing something on November 7th for sure. And, maybe in between there, I'll set something up. And if I do raise the $50, I will let you guys know what the certificate is once I finally get it, if I get it. So that was Extra Life. Let's jump over to... Oh, by the way, I realized so the Twibbon. This is Rage of Demons. There's a couple bit of news that came out around that. Again, like I said, this is the new campaign setting, kind of like Tyranny of Dragons and Elemental Evil. This is probably also going to coincide with the release of the Underdark kind of expansion for Neverwinter. So if that's your kind of thing, I don't know why you'd ever want to go into Underdark. It's just an awful place. I'm not going to read this here, but this is kind of a story synopsis. It's very heavy on Drizzt, so if you're a big fan of that drow ranger / fighter / whatever they made him into in this version, you can check that out. Well, I guess we could stop on this real quick. WizKids is going to be releasing a new set of their Icons of the Realm minis, this time keyed towards the Out of the Abyss Rage of Demons storyline, so you can see all the different minis that they're going to have previews of. D&D minis are they're pretty nice. I have a few. I should do a review on that, but we'll see. And then what they're doing here down the bottom is the various demon lords of the Nine Hells. They're going to be doing kind of a little breakdown on their Tumblr of all the different demon lords. So Demogorgon was the first one, and if you shoot over to their Tumblr, they actually have this article, which is about the making of Demogorgon with some concept art. And then this one, which is the actual finished art with a lot of information about Demogorgon, how it's going to tie into Rage of Demons, and then some kind of FAQ stuff. And then people can obviously comment here on on Tumblr, Facebook, or whatever, and ask questions regarding that. So be on the lookout if you have a favorite demon. I really want to see the stuff for Yinagu here, the Gnoll Lord, because he's this weird Gnoll god who corrupts hyenas and people. So I'm interested to see what that is. So that is the Rage of Demons update. Jumping over to Unearthed Arcana, which, if you're unaware of, Unearthed Arcana, I guess I should say, is a monthly release where they sort of are testing the waters with new content. We've gotten things so far in Unearthed Arcana as rules for kind of large-scale combat, like war combat, but we've also got things like all of Eberron. We got a Changeling, Shifter, Warforged races for 5th edition, and the Artificer as a wizard subclass. We got Variant Ranger, Spellless Ranger, and rules on altering existing classes. We got Favored Soul as a Sorcerer subclass. We got a whole Waterborne, water-based adventure where we got Minotaur as a race. We got a new fighting style, the Mariner fighting style. We got a new Rogue subclass, the Swashbuckler, which is going to be one of the classes that will be this, and I guess, let me finish. And the Stormborn Sorcerer, which is one of the best sorcerers out there. There's another one about variant rules and variant alignments that just came out. And then this one, which is about modern magic. Just a point about Unearthed Arcana, these are for playtests, basically. None of this stuff is technically Adventure League legal, or by any means end-all be-all. It's not good until it's officially... You can't take it as gospel until it's published in either an official D&D PDF or in a book. In the upcoming Sword Coast Adventure Handbook that's coming out, end of... I think it's the end of October, early November, that will have the published Swashbuckler. So when that book comes out, I'll compare the pre-existing Swashbuckler from Unearthed Arcana to that one, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's some major changes. But on to this. If you look in the Dungeon Master Guide, there's a section on modern magic, well, not modern magic, but it's guns and firearms and explosives, and this is an expansion of that called Modern Magic. And this is by Dan Helmick, and he said there was a lot of buzz around the 2 pages in the Dungeon Master Guide. So this is a full Unearthed Arcana article on this. And I'm not going to go into this, but you have a new domain. You have the city domain for the cleric with new spells and new abilities. You have the Ghost in the Machine patron for the warlock with, obviously, and there's here's an extra invocation. And Technomancy as a wizard subclass. Ability checks, hacking tools are basically the replacement for thieves' tools, obviously, except they're for hacking. And then new spells, which are pretty cool. I think it's funny that paladins can get Find Vehicle instead of Find Steed. And there's some pretty cool stuff, the cantrips, on, off, invisibility to cameras. Just cool stuff. All if you're planning on doing a modern setting, but still keeping the D&D 5th edition rules. Personally, I think there are better systems out there for doing modern games, more things that are more designed like D20 Modern. But if you want to use 5th edition because you like the simplicity or you like the kind of subclass functionality that it has, then this could be a good way for you to at least get some ideas before you kind of jump into your own fully made campaign. And I will point you back to, this was a behind the screens article from back in April, which sort of expanded on that. This is the first go round about armor and weapons. So you have the various armor classes and the damage resistance that the armor gives. See, resistance, ballistic, and slashing. And then this also shows who gets what proficiency with what long arms, side arms, or so on. And then it actually alludes to this here, the Unearthed Arcana article. So again, I'll have links for all these in the description. And the last little bit is the D&D podcast talked about Extra Life. And they had Deborah Davitt on there talking about some of her new books, The Valkyrie and the Goddess Denied, in her Edda Earth series. But Greg Billsland, the guy I mentioned who was the DM for the 25 hours for last time, he's on the podcast talking about Extra Life. So you can check this link, or you can shoot over to iTunes and find him there. But yeah, that I realized that was kind of a little long-winded. It was the first one. I'm still getting the hang of how I want to break this up. Trying to flip back and forth between, you know, showing you guys the monitor and just the webcam here. But anyway, let me know what you guys think about this. Is there anything you'd like to see? If you guys have stuff that you've encountered, and maybe if I make this, this is a weekly update, maybe we could throw in other segments like I don't know, saw this on somebody's Facebook about D&D, and I'll throw this in here. A story about something weird that happened in your campaign, and we'll kind of call it out and shout out to you here on the stream. On the video, rather. So let me know what you guys think of this. Is there anything I missed that you heard of in the past week that came out with Dungeons & Dragons that I should talk about? Leave comments in the video below. And again, all these links for everything you saw will be down in the description. So for whatever we're going to call this D&D weekly wrap-up, I'm Ted, and I'll see you next week.